Good morning.
Good morning. I am here today with the world's most dangerous cup of cacao.
How is
Ask
it
why.
dangerous?
Well,
Raise it higher again. I want to see.
it's
More. Okay. Oh,
it's a beautiful
yeah,
cup.
it's got
Yeah,
a very tiny base, but
it does, but it did come also with a nice little, saucer.
saucer.
But
Perfect.
what makes it dangerous is that it's a teacup. You know what I mean? It's not meant to hold a million ounces of cacao. And so this morning, when I made my cacao, which is like liquid gold, I filled it to the very brim. You know how like when the liquid actually goes above the brim and it just the
Yeah.
surface tension that's keeping it up. Um,
Yes.
that and of course I make my cacao like near boiling, so it was dangerous because I had to like I couldn't sip it fast enough because then I would burn my mouth, but then I had to walk because I had to get in front of this camera. So it's been a little bit of a stressful start for cacao, but I'm down just a little bit. So anyway, everything's okay, but it was absolutely qualified as my most dangerous cup of cacao so far.
Well, I'm glad you're safe. Mine is still too hot for me to sip, but I feel like this mug is a bit of, I don't know if it's hard to see. There we
Oh, I
go.
love it.
Be yourself. And, one of our um, missions is to support everyone in becoming their true, authentic self. So I actually had this one for a while. And just this morning, I was like, I don't know if I've ever used this one on the show, but I just
I
felt
don't think
called to
so. I watch mugs very carefully, and I don't think I've seen that one on the show yet. So, new mug, very exciting. We have a really world famous organization here. It's called the John C. Campbell Folk School. And literally, they have residential programs. People come from all over the world to learn things like basket weaving and woodworking and blacksmithing. My kids have taken tons of courses there, jewelry making, things like that. And it occurred to me, I was like, why am I not making mugs? Why have I not become a potter, a ceramicist? Why am I just sitting
are
here
you
buying?
going to?
Well,
Are you
I
going
wrote it
to?
down. I wrote it down on a post-it. I mean, that's step one. If you know anything about me, my desk has 57 post-it notes in 20 different colors, and it's on the list. Because all the like intense courses take place during the day. It's like your day job. And of course, me, I want to dive into everything and become an expert in it until it's no longer fun, and then I'm over it and I'll never touch it again. Um, that's my yeah. So anyway, so I don't know. I put some thought into it, and I thought, this world famous place is literally 7 minutes from my front door. And it's absolutely a gorgeous facility. There's no reason why I shouldn't go. They host like like live music and I say live music and it sounds like I'm talking about a bar. I'm talking about like a jam, like a community jam. Everybody brings their instruments. Like I've been absolutely amazed at how culturally diverse and artistically diverse this area is, and I don't know if it's because we have a lot of retired folks who finally got a hot minute to learn something new, or if we just happen to breed a lot of arts in this area. But there's so much. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, but the point is I really hope I can create the space to start making my own mugs. How fun would that be?
Yeah, um, since you're bringing that up, in Wisconsin, I did go to a pottery class, and now I'm even trying to think like I don't know if I have any of the pieces that I created anymore. I don't
Hmm.
know where they've gone, but I made a pitcher. I made this rectangular kind of a platter, but like the edges were more raised. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember what else I made, but I'm like, they were cool. I enjoyed it very much. Like there is something very rewarding about, having your fingers in the clay. And I've never done like a wheel course where you're like,
Yeah.
but handcrafted stuff I've done before, and it's definitely, it's something that feels really good to do. And I'm like, absolutely, there is a side of me that is an artist, between making my crystal, the malas, the soul candy pieces, and then painting. Like, I need my own artist studio, because all of that has kind of been put on hold because there's like no space for, because if you got the stuff and then you got to put it all back away when you're done, like, that's no fun. It needs like a space.
Exactly. That's why I keep books piled up all over the house. So no matter what chair I sit in, I have something that I want right next to me. But I think a lot about our friend Cheryl, who makes our ceremonial cacao mugs, and how I was able to describe to her that I wanted the mugs to feel like I just dug my hands into the earth and pulled up clay, and that was the mug. And she executed that like so perfectly. And what I love about it is that each mug has like little dimples in it, and those dimples are her fingertips. And so now, literally for all of time until these cups stop existing, her fingerprints are immortalized, and we know from archaeology that pottery lasts, a really long time. So it really could, be buried under
have these mugs in the future.
Right? Like 100, it could be 100 years from now, and someone will pick up a mug and flip it over and be like, I wonder what this was, or who made this, or whose fingerprints are these? I don't know.
Will they find cacao residue on the inside of it and be like, ooh.
Well,
so I was actually in cacao.
Then they'd be like, ew, these people were so dirty. They didn't clean their mug.
No, but I was in cacao ceremony last night with Cheryl, this artist, and that full moon in Scorpio was definitely pulling its emotional strings. And it was a small class, but it was super profound and deep. And so I hope others enjoyed that full moon with some cacao last night, because it was special.
Well,
so our topic today.
But I have more before we get into the topic, because I must share two really important things. Number one, today is my 20-year anniversary with my partner, Tim. So happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. So when we first started dating, neither one of us really wanted to be in a relationship. So we would call it like a one-night stand. It was just pure denial, but whatever. That's what we called it. And we were like, this is just a one-night stand with an option to renew. If in the morning you don't want to be my friend anymore, goodbye. And so, but everybody around us knew that it was real. It was something. And so we would joke around, and every time people would ask us, how long have you been together? We would quickly do the math and be like, 432 days. When we got to day 1,000, it was a really big deal. And so today in the card,
1,000 one-night stands.
What's that? Right. 1,000 one-night stands.
One-night stands.
Yeah. I mean, which, like, not to be too overly romantic, but you have to choose each other every day, and that's really, to me, I see it like, okay, we're choosing 1,000 times to be with each other, and then 2,000 times. And anyway, he figured out that 20 years together is 7,300 one-night stands. I am very tired, but so anyway,
I love that.
I just want to put it out there.
I know you said a quick shout out. Good morning, June. So good to see you here on the show, and I miss you. And Pam is there. She had the clinking champagne glasses. I think that was
Oh,
wishing you
thank you. I was like,
anniversary.
I really can't see what that is. It looks like a mosquito on the screen.
I'm trying to do this without my glasses today, so we don't have the reflection. But yeah, it's a bit of
well,
a challenge.
I value production quality over being able to read. So we're great. But anyway, the other thing that I wanted to share is that I experienced my first earthquake the other day.
Oh,
So
that's right. I saw that on Facebook.
yeah,
And
well, it was interesting because, my brain was like trying to go through the possibilities of what is happening right now. So definitely the house shook. Nothing fell off the shelves or it wasn't that dramatic, but it was definitely a rumbling from underneath. And my first thought was like, man, that garage door really needs to get like oiled. Like it's so rattly. And then I was like, no, that's too big for the garage door. I'm like, maybe Tim is starting up one of his trucks, because he has these like big monster trucks. And I'm like, no,
mhm.
it still wouldn't. Like I had enough time to process all of this. And then I was like, well, maybe there's a jet flying overhead. So I walk outside and I'm like, nothing's going on. And then like, I think it was like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. And it was over and I was like, well, I got things to do, so whatever. Later on I figured out, oh my gosh, that was an actual earthquake. Because it would never have occurred to me that we can have earthquakes here in North Carolina. So
Well, I
when
guess
I was moving
they can happen anywhere, but there's places like, if you're in California, like you just expect that you're going to have an earthquake. But yeah, North Carolina would not be
yeah,
high on the list.
no. Anyway, interesting. So now, part of the reason I moved up here because everyone is like, oh, the weather's so perfect, it's so temperate, it's just always breezy and wonderful, and we have no natural disasters, like literally nothing ever happens. They don't even offer you, hurricane shutters for your windows. Like people look at you like you're ridiculous. Since I've moved here, we've had Hurricane Helene, mass flooding, 6 inches of snow, which hasn't happened apparently like in a bajillion years, and now an earthquake. I'm like, anything else? So
Don't ask that question because,
I know, right? Well,
uh,
I'll show you. All right, I'll show you the last thing. Oh, like darn it, do I have it? Anyway, I pulled a card the other day. I wish I could show it to you because it's so pretty, but it's buried in this stack. But it's called The Perfect Storm. And
oh,
since then, I have pulled at least 3 different cards from 3 different stacks, 3 different boxes, and they all have a storm theme that's running through it. So I don't know what it is, but bottoms up, they may be finding the clay later than I imagine. I don't
oh,
for anything, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Um, I when I lived in Venezuela, so back in 1986, 87, there was an earthquake when I was there. And the hilarious thing was like, I didn't even notice. And like that day I was at home at dinner time, we're sitting around the table talking, and everyone's like, did you feel the earthquake? Did you feel the earthquake? And I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. But so I have been where there was an earthquake happening and I didn't even notice. And good
Wow.
morning, Doreen.
Good morning, my friend. She has the cutest little grandbaby you've ever seen. So, so, so delicious. I love her. So, yes, it has weather-wise, it has been very interesting. I was lucky enough to spend the weekend out in the forest and checking out waterfalls and things like that. So I am enjoying it. Glad I wasn't out there while the earthquake happened. My one friend, Holly, who hikes like an absolute beast mode, she was on a mountain when it happened, but she's fine. So no harm, no foul. But you get to experience all of life fully, fully present.
Absolutely. All right. So today's topic is, how do you hold space for your own healing? And it's funny because I get asked that a lot. As someone who's doing the healing, my people will often ask me, who heals you? And the answer is, I heal me because the only one that can heal me is me. Just like the
Mm.
only one that can heal you is you. Um, and this whole journey of healing has been a lifelong journey, starting in the world of physical therapy, and along the way, realizing that the tools that I was given as a physical therapist were extremely limited in their healing ability, and which has led me on this, constant exploration of healing and how to facilitate that more effectively. But the more I know, like the more I realize anyone can heal anything instantaneously if you are in the right space, frequency, dimension. Um, yeah. And so, I sit in a lot of space of curiosity, like,
Mm.
how can I tap into that? And having the realization, like, I have to get it for myself first before I can share that with anybody else. So it's an interesting vibration that I'm sitting in with that.
And I think for me, one of the important lessons for me is that it's ever evolving. I had a consultation, let's call it, with someone yesterday. She was looking for kind of just a spiritual guidance type of conversation. And so we were chatting, and those conversations are as important for me as they are for the person that I'm, you know, kind of going back and forth with. And one of the things that we talked about was the concept of life not being linear, but being a spiral. And so we keep coming around to these triggers, to these things that need to be healed. And each time you pass by it, hopefully you're a little bit more healed and a little bit more healed and a little bit more healed. I was joking with two of my friends recently. They sent me one of those like rage room videos, where someone is like, with a baseball bat destroying everything that's in the room. And I'm like, man, I'm so bummed because that didn't exist when I was in my rage era, when I was completely unhealed, and very raw from life. And I remember I used to tell my friends, this was back like in high school, I'd really love to go to Goodwill and buy like plates and cups for like $1 a piece, buy like 100 of them and just go smash them against a wall in an alley. But of course I was way too much of a goody two shoes, so I would never make a mess in an alley. That's rude. So I never got to do that. And then here we are, like 25 years, 30 years later, people are like, it's a successful business to destroy things. And I'm like, I came up with that. What are you talking about? So I missed an opportunity there. But now I see those videos and I just don't have it in me. Like I just don't have that rage in me. I just don't have I can't work myself up to that level of, anger sustained to, justify spending $45 to break a fax machine. So um it's really interesting because I still am who I am in the sense that I'm still somebody who is healing. I'm still somebody who, is going through the different triggers, but everything is like easier and easier and easier. And now if I go through like a rage moment, it literally lasts like 90 seconds. And then I'm like, okay, whoo, that fell out of me. Let's try that again. So how do I hold space for my healing is recognizing those moments in the moment and separating myself so that I can use my tools, my grounding and my journaling and my whatever it might be. Sometimes my tool is going for a drive and sitting in a forest. I mean, that's a tool. So I think recognizing that the healing needs specific attention, that works for me, like acknowledging it, not pushing it away, but acknowledging it and facing it head on. And gosh, I was going to say one more thing. Oh, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, letting my tools evolve. That's another thing. So I will go through phases where journaling is really good for me. And then I don't want to journal for like 3 months. And then it might be, moving my body, doing something extreme, like when I, went through my marathoning phase, that's how I needed to heal in that moment. And then it evolves into something else, sometimes isolation is what I need for peace and quiet. And sometimes my next healing step must involve community and just being around other people, and just knowing that someone else experiences life in a similar way that I do is healing in and of itself, right? Like, I don't have to light an incense. I don't have to light a candle. Sometimes just sitting in a coffee shop next to somebody that gets it is healing as well. So anyway, that's how I'm feeling that question.
Yeah, for sure. It's an evolution. What I thought was healing 30 years ago is way different than how I view healing today. And, um, coming from a medical background, when someone says the word healing, like I tend to think like healing the physical body, the aches, the pains, the organs, the um, diseases, all of the things. And um, but like today, understanding that that physical manifestation of disease, discomfort, really has, these emotional, spiritual levels to them. And like, even, I explain it to people like, you can have two people that were in these mild fender benders, and one might have a kink in their neck the next day, and then, a few days later they're completely fine as if nothing happened. And the other person can end up on disability with like, aches and pains that don't allow them to get out and function and do their daily thing, and what is the difference between these two people? And there may be some physical connections to it, but the biggest piece of that all is, where is that person, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Those are the things that greatest influence our healing ability. And so, for sure, taking the time to keep yourself balanced emotionally, spiritually. And if you're not doing that, watch out. It's going to bite you in the butt.
I think a lot of times my life is reflected in my plants' lives. So I have this one
Mm.
particular plant, and my kids are in charge of watering like a, a lot of the plants that we have in the house, but there's just one particular one that's like a little bit more complicated. So I'm in charge of it. And that poor thing will like get dried up. And I'm like, oh shit, wait, don't die. And then I go and, hey, Jamie, good morning. And I'm like, oh shit, wait, don't die. So then I go and I water it and I put it in the sun, and it's like, it lifts back up again. And it's like, oh my God, I feel so good. And I'm like, great, back into this little place in the kitchen you go. And then 3 weeks later, it's like dying again. And I'm like, oh man, is this what I do? Am I like, okay, I got my dose of level up, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great, and then I put myself in a corner and let my battery go down, and get frustrated and get this and get that, and then be like, wait a minute, got to go back out.
Little baby in the corner.
Yeah. So it has been interesting to watch that plant and think of myself like, girl, we're on the same schedule here. Like we need to develop a little bit more ritual when it comes to these particular things, So anyway, I just think that's interesting.
Well, and it goes, we've talked about this a few times on the show, but as you're talking about, it's making me think about, that study that shows like your plants sense you when you're like 2 miles from home. Like obviously there is a relationship between you and this plant, and a reflection of, it's like everybody says, like you start to resemble your pets. And like your pet behavior is a reflection of your own behavior. So if your plant can sense you when you're coming from 2 miles, away, like, of course they're going to be responding, which then makes me think about, and I do have to remind myself that my mango trees are still babies. They're still, they're I would say they're probably like in the equivalent of the teenage phase. But there's a
Right.
piece of me that's so disappointed that, I look around at all the mature mango trees in the neighborhood and they're just filled with mangoes. And I have literally, I think there is one mango on the tree in the front yard and 8 mangoes. Oh, actually, one fell off yesterday, but I think the mango is mature enough that it will ripen so that we will be able to eat it. So now I think there are still 7 mangoes on that backyard tree. But then I go, is this a reflection of me? I need to up my abundance game next year for full trees with bountiful crops of mangoes coming from them.
Well, it's like everything. Like it takes time to build, you got to plant a lot of seeds before you see the bloom, and I do think that's one of the gifts of sticking with whatever, project you're working on, or like this podcast, or whatever it might be. Like keep consistent, keep at it, and it's putting down roots, I mean, that's really what happens to all of these trees and flowers, is that they got to grow down first, develop their underground structure, and then they can grow up. I remember we planted years ago coconut palms, and coconut palms you put in real deep and you don't see anything for like a year or two, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's been for 30 years, but probably more than that. But I remember, people were like, don't freak out, don't dig it up, just give it a minute and let it do its thing. And then when once it comes up, it like shoots up, so I think you and those little mango trees are like, okay, any minute now it's just gonna take off, that perfect storm I keep pulling, so interesting.
Yeah, yesterday the cards that I drew, one was the brown bear. Oh, beautiful. Perfect storm. Yeah.
Perfect
Um,
storm, courage to step into life.
yeah. But I got the brown bear that was about resting, and
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, I hear you, because I've definitely been going, and all these opportunities are coming up, and I just keep saying yes. And sometimes you have to rest and say no. um, but I also got another card that says win-win is coming up. So, and that's something um, you know I talked about in last week's newsletter, and I talk a lot about with my clients, that we've really been programmed to think that if someone wins, someone else loses.
Right.
And the truth in life is that we can get to a space of win-win. And I think even in our healing journey, sometimes we think that we look at things that we have to sacrifice for healing. And I think if we shift our perspective, we can look at it more as a win-win as opposed to a win-lose. And
Hmm.
the other thing I love sharing about healing is that I always express gratitude to anyone who comes up and shows up in my space to do healing work, because at the core we are all one. And so any healing work that you do on you also helps heal me and helps heal the collective. And um, so it's working on yourself is not selfish. Working on yourself is a gift to everyone around you. And for sure, the people closest to you are going to feel it the most, but it does ripple out to the entirety of humanity. And so if you want to give a really good gift to the people you love and to humanity, heal yourself.
You know,
All the
we were
way.
talking recently the other day about when you reach a particular level of awareness, it's very frustrating to see people that are not aware, right? And that could be it. I'm speaking in the broadest terms possible, right? So people that are really athletic and health minded might look at someone who's not and think, gosh, how do you not, see what you're doing, right? Or someone who's more, I don't know, centered sees someone who's scattered and thinks, gosh, how can you not see what you're doing, And I said, well, it's kind of like a bad haircut. Like, you don't know you have it until 10 years pass. And then you look back at the picture and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that to my hair? And why didn't anybody tell me? And everybody around you is like, we did tell you. You just didn't know. You didn't, like, you couldn't see it. You were, hair blindness, they call it, but, to reinforce your point, like when you want something good for other people, the only way, just this morning I saw Nicole Kidman talking about, her husband and his battle with addiction. And she's like, you can't heal other people. You can only love them and support them and take care of yourself. And they have to do their own healing. So for those that, and I really speak of myself, get so frustrated that someone else doesn't understand, like you said, work on yourself. And that is what is going to move the needle. Instead of focusing on, so-and-so is doing this or behaving this way or whatever, don't worry about that. Like that little girl says in the video, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Definitely. And again, it's the spiral, you think about it today and then it's going to come up again a year from now and it's going to come up again a year after that. So keep at it for sure. This is why I love, not to, toot our own horn, but this is why I love our retreats so much, because there's so much about everyone working on themselves individually as a collective, if that makes sense.
For sure. And like what I really, really love is seeing those women that have committed to the process and committed to themselves. And so, they come to one retreat and then they come to the next, and then they come to the little things that we offer in between, and just seeing the evolution each time. And like you said, sometimes it's a spiral, sometimes it's coming back to the same thing, but it's at a different level now. And so the shift is at a new level. And like, there are times I haven't figured out in this lifetime yet how to manifest a ton of money as a healer. And I know it's on me, but I also see it in the collective that, the healers of the world were the ones that they did that work, and then everybody took care of them. Like, they didn't have to worry about charging money for what they did, because everybody in the community would take care of them. And that doesn't happen in modern times. So like, we do have to charge for what we're doing. And now I've completely distracted myself from the point of what I was going to say. I don't even know. I completely lost it. But oh crap. Anyway, talk about something else. I truly lost it this morning. I had to wake up way too early to go network.
You're so funny. At the end of the day, like I said,
I mean,
like you said and I said, I think working on ourselves is the most important thing you can do for humanity, like you said. So working on yourself, being your authentic self, being that whatever it is, not to, use a cliche now, but Gandhi said it, be the change, so
you honestly. I
super.
came back to what I was going to say. So, like, my motivation for doing the work that I do, we love you too, Pam. Um, but like, that is, it fills my soul. It heals me to support others in their healing journey and in their growth. And um, yeah, maybe one day that will be rewarded in financial abundance, so I can spread this joy even further. But right now, like, that is what fills my soul and makes my life feel abundant, is watching the transformation of other people. And I do recognize that, like, that starts with my transformation and my healing, and it is continually an ongoing process. And like, I love, like, when I get to a new level, because then I'm like, yes, a new level that I can share with those around me that come around. So whew,
Absolutely.
so glad I recuperated and got there.
Well, it wouldn't be a cacao conversation without it. So perfect. Perfect. All right. We have
Much.
had a amazing episode today. I always love chatting. It's like I never left South Florida. This is perfect. And if
Yeah,
you
I
guys
ran
have
into some other people that were
good.
asking about you.
Oh,
You thought by leaving here that people would, like, forget about you, and all the time, like, practically every day, somebody asked me about you and how you're doing. And so you
very
you
sweet.
definitely left your mark on South Florida.
Very sweet. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap for today. Don't forget to check out our retreat if you've been thinking about it and hemming and hawing and doing that last minute Lauderdale thing. It is now officially the last minute. So you're right on time. Make your commitments, chat with us, ask for what you need. Let's get you there. All the trees are full, the birds are out. It is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous summer, and our location is amazing. And yeah, I'm super excited.
Whoop, whoop. All right, it's a wrap.